2, 1, go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wake the Fuck Up podcast. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I am Uncle E, your charming and delightful host for this fun-filled extravaganza of free speech frivolity. Yes, Charlie Kirk does not have the night off. Guy's been dead for a week, and everybody's been beating that one for all they can. And after a week of watching everybody do so, I'd figure I'd add my podcast level conclusions. So, first off, general overview. Charlie Kirk, if you haven't heard, was assassinated about a week ago. Because he was someone who wanted dialogue and discuss problems, which is a story as old as time. How many people have been assassinated throughout the centuries because they dare be a helper instead of a corrupt piece of garbage? How many? Oh, gee. Abraham Lincoln, Jesus, Gandhi, Sadat, oh God, how many, so many. History is littered with dead bodies of the people who want to help. Now, for those of you on the leftist end of things who are disagreeing with my characterization of him, open your eyes, open your ears, and shut your mouth. Because I've watched enough Charlie Kirk to know that his opinions and the discussions that he has with various members of the audience at his questionnaires, you aren't hearing hate from him. You're hearing hate from his opposition. He wants to have a discussion. They want to shut him down. And I always say, you can always tell the fascists, yes, fascists, by who wants to suspend your rights for whatever reason. And free speech is supposed to be a right, yet they want to treat it like a privilege. And for those of you who are like, well, what about the right? What about the right? The right didn't pull the trigger. Okay? I know you want to find a justification on why accountability should not come looking at the left. As a conservative / libertarian who maintains a Switzerland level of political open-mindedness, I'll listen to them all, don't give a shit, and I'll judge accordingly, according to me. Well, from the left for the last week, we have heard endless justifications on why he should have been shot, or had political violence directed at him, or some other way to say, look at what he made us do. Seriously? Look at what he made us do. We wouldn't be hateful and violent if he hadn't spoken out. That's the justification you want to use? Oh, he's a hateful, spiteful person. He's a transphobe, a racist, a bigot, and all of these other things, which are usually distractions and deflections for what's actually going on. Because a few things I've learned over the decades when it comes to leftists and neoliberals, kind of like neoconservatives. They're not conservatives, they're rightists, just like leftists. They both have authoritarian bents. They both want control. They both want to play the game of tyrant because I know best, is what they're saying. I know best, and I know the best way to run things. That's why I am an independent. So, the leftists who have been celebrating, deflecting, distracting from the accountability that they do like to preach violence against their opposition, we can go BLM, set shit on fire, show up and riot, destroy storefronts and buildings, make living very problematic for the people around their protest or otherwise disruption of civil society. And now their Antifa is a terrorist organization, which, duh. You can't call yourself anti-fascist and be fascist. I have, when it's these, when you have a rally from the right, the only time they have violence is when Antifa shows up and does stupid crap. And for those people wanting to plop out January 6th like it's a giant turd, may I remind you that it was a giant turd. I will say this over and over and over again. You cannot have an insurrection by people without guns. If it was an insurrection, if it was there to take over the government, they didn't have any guns. Sorry. You can't talk about gun nuts showing up to an insurrection without guns. Okay, it doesn't work like that. Let's see. But back to the leftist accountability. Let's start with Maxine Waters. I'm going to play you a clip here in just a second from 7 years ago. And, get up in their face. Here, I'll play it for you right now.
If we can't protect the children, we can't protect anybody. If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome. The people are going to turn on them. They're going to protest. They're going to absolutely harass them until they decide that they're going to tell the president, no, I can't hang with you.
Not in D.C. Not in the U.S. Not in D.C. Not in the U.S. Not in D.C. Not in the U.S.
Now, as you heard her say, get up in their face, group up and challenge them, harass them, threaten them. If you're just one or two people and you've got a herd of sheep surrounding you, chanting slogans that they don't give two shits about, and basically just, just right in front of you. That's not supposed to intimidate, but that's what you're asking for, right? Intimidate them into thinking from our position. That's not fascism. That's not fascism. Showing up at people's homes to do much the same, that's not fascist. if you need a security detail to go out because some of the more interesting individuals have taken it upon themselves to let you know that they wouldn't mind seeing you shot, is that not fascism? Isn't that fascism? Because that's not free speech. Oh, somebody might say that's free speech, but if you hate bullying so much, why would you bully someone into thinking your way? If you can't win the argument, you use force. And if mild force doesn't work, you go to punch a Nazi, right? And we've heard, as again, former conservative, libertarian, yada, 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 we've heard enough of those people to the right of the leftists be portrayed, labeled, called Nazis. Okay? Which shows a supreme ignorance of Nazis. It shows the supreme ignorance. There can be no other way to state it, because Nazis would protest outside certain businesses, Jewish, otherwise, that were targeted, and they would paint slogans on the windows, on the walls, intimidate, harass would-be customers into not going in, eventually causing them to lose their businesses, and were then, if you don't know the story, you shouldn't be calling someone a Nazi, because from there, most of them were put into ghettos or put on trains that were shipped off to places that liquidated them. You understand liquidation, right? The expenditure of assets to operate into a final solution. Lots of them died. And Gina Carano said you have to create the conditions necessary for fascism to take hold, right? She got canceled for that. You leftists made sure of that. And your leftist ideology entertainment company, a.k.a. Disney, agreed with you, fired her, and continued down the woke road. Censorship, cancellation, those were the things that were advocated for at least the last decade. Silencing opposition, saying they're not politically correct. Using terms like racist, sexist, bigoted, transphobe, homophobe. Anytime a subject was broached and the person talking was saying things you didn't want to hear, boom, labeled. Boom, labeled. Boom, labeled. Canceled. Call up their work to harass them. Post negative reviews constantly. Try to get the business shut down. Those were you, right? Have them swatted. Just create massive turmoil and chaos in their lives because they were willing to say things that you disagreed with. Is that not fascism? Isn't that against free speech? I mean, I know I'll beat this one a lot today, but don't you think that if free speech only applies to you and those who think like you, it's not really free speech, is it? No, it's not. Not at all. Yes, I know it sucks to face. I know it sucks to face that your emotions might be being manipulated into having a bloodlust that you don't or shouldn't have for your fellow man. Because we all have to live on this planet together. Unless we really do like the idea of killing one another for shits and giggles. I don't. I've seen people die needlessly. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't. The idea of someone and their life being wasted and the hurt and the damage it causes in others is pretty unacceptable to me. Pretty unacceptable. So, having someone murdered, assassinated, for trying to foster conversation and tone down the hate is unacceptable waste. It's supposed to be a fellow human being. You may not like him, you may not respect him, you may not want to agree with anything, but you know what? Killing him? Dumb fucking move. Dumb fucking move. And here's why. Because, as I was alluding to earlier, all of the times that people to the right of the leftists were told, you're pieces of shit, you're Nazis, you're horrible human beings, you're deplorable, you're all of these things, you treat it as hate speech because it's criticism. I'll backtrack on this. Hold on a second. All of these things that I alluded to, the declaration of war against those on the right, which even classical liberals are being called Nazis because they dare side with the Republicans and not the tyrant leftists. And those people are targeted as well for assassination and murder, which is, again, a story as old as time itself, as humanity itself. It's wasteful, it's hurtful, it's disgusting, it's deplorable, but unfortunately, we're humans, and we don't really change all that much. Our technology gets better, but we as a species, you still got 3% on this end that wouldn't mind seeing the world burn. You got 3% on this end who want everything right as rain and just beautiful. And then you've got everybody in the middle who, on some level or another, just wants to be left the fuck alone. And both sides' 3% depends on swaying enough to one side or the other to hopefully make things in life the way the two ends of the spectrum want to be. Can't be good, can't be bad. Had a number of centuries where it was pretty fucking horrible. Probably a few centuries where it was definitely really fucking good. And we made progress as a species, and we started coming up, and then shit went south, and we had that wonderful dark age period where, things were really fucked up in Europe. And, yeah, good things, good times. Progress is made by people wanting to do good for everybody and for themselves. And tyranny is done in much the same way. Control, domination. And if you want to control speech, threats of violence can be successful. And it's not a good thing, especially when you're gunning down people who are trying to help politically things get better so we can get better as a species. Which is why, to the leftists, I say you've probably poked the bear just a little too much for your own good. And the best way for you to first stop being assholes about Charlie Kirk's assassination is by repeating to yourself a few adages when you start to feel the anger and the vitriol come up. First adage here. Just because you can say something doesn't mean you should. You know, sometimes the best advice in life is to shut the fuck up. You can get out or stay out of a lot of trouble if you just learn to not say those little itty bitty thoughts that pop into your head. It's advice I need to take from time to time. Trust me on that. Sometimes I wonder if my mouth doesn't have the filter that should have been installed at some point. I think somebody left that out. Oh well. Number 2 adage, something my grandma told me. If you ain't got nothing nice to say, if you don't have anything nice to say that's helpful, keep your mouth shut. You don't need to say it. Hey, you're fat and ugly. Hey, you're skinny and stupid. You don't need to say it. It's not helpful. Don't say it. All of those people who are cheering and rah-rah-rahing, remember, you are the ones who wanted cancel culture. Don't be surprised if your verbal punishment shotgun gets turned back on you. Because you wanted to turn it on everybody who didn't think and say what you wanted them to say. Well, guess what? Shit comes back around. If you want to play the game, you better know the rules. So if you want to cancel people, and for the life of you can't understand how it would be turned against you, here you go, yapping your fucking ears or mouth off with Kirk assassination celebration. People who hold themselves in reserve because they don't want to get nasty, if you give them a reason to get out of the reserve and get nasty, well, since you've obviously declared war on conservatives, libertarians, and people to the right of leftism, if you're going to declare war, the war is going to come to you. Don't expect to sit there in your posh little spot drinking your caramel macchiato or whatever the fuck you're drinking and expect some blowback and not expect some blowback. Okay? Piss people off, shit in their cornflakes, whatever cliche you want to use. It rarely ends well. Especially for people whose only means of fighting back is talking. And what happened to Charlie Kirk? Remember, what's an insurrection without weaponry? Hence the reason why January 6th to me was not an insurrection, but essentially a agent provocateur led shit show to impeach Trump and everybody who supports him, just like it's, been common practice for the first 4 years to say Russia, 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 and then for the next 4 years to say don't let this man get into office, and we're not even a year into his first term or second term, and every bit of hysteria is just being flung as if we got to get something to stick. You've cried wolf too many times. The people you endlessly called Nazis aren't fucking Nazis. Okay? You say the sky is falling, boy who cried wolf, all that shit. There's a reason why these parables get taught to you as a child. It's to teach you what can happen if you say and do continuously stupid shit. Again, you've been calling conservatives Nazis. Oh, this symbol is a Nazi symbol. This okay symbol, it's a Nazi symbol. It's a white supremacist symbol. And that was done to troll you guys into saying shit like that to further discredit you in case you actually did have a good point. Who's going to listen to you? Now, yeah, I'm done with that rant at this point. Let's move on to let's circle back to Disney and the Jimmy Kimmel current situation. Basically, several major ownership groups, or an ownership group of several affiliates, various stations, basically said, you fucking idiots. Why did you run that? Why did you say that? What few audience is willing to fucking pay attention of the conservative side to Kimmel, you just shit on him. And that's a good chunk of our audience. We need them watching. We got to cut. We got to preempt. No, we're not putting you back on if you're going to put crap like that on our TV. No, we're not doing it. And enough of those affiliate stations, corporations, whatever, told them to suspend him because we're done. We're not putting him on anymore. If you're going to do jokes like that, out the door. And everybody's screaming about his free speech. It's like, his free speech isn't being denied. He said some stupid shit, and the investors, the economics of it, said, get the fuck off the air. Don't shit on half our audience. It's business. He can go on Twitter and say that shit all day long. His right to free speech is not being destroyed. His ability to say it on the air and have a platform. Remember, a platform, places where those you oppose should not ever be given. Again, shit comes around. He was deplatformed, if we want to use the vernacular of that mission statement. So I really don't, and I'm old enough to remember, okay? I'm an old fuck, okay? I remember Carson, okay? I was old enough to watch, didn't watch often because way past bedtime, more for the old people at that time, yada, yada. I loved his Carson Comedy Classics. I remember those clip shows. I loved watching that. Absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. But he tried to appeal to everybody. He wasn't a leftist. He wasn't a righty. He wasn't a rightist. He wasn't a left-winger or a right-winger, whatever. He's trying to entertain. You just got done with a shitty-ass day, and it's time to sit down and have some good, mindless or mindful distractions. Ha 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 ha. Laughs, interviews, jokes, humor. We're trying to appeal to everybody, not just this demographic, that demographic. We want everybody to watch. And Leno was much the same way. Why don't you shit on half the audience? because if I do, that half audience goes away and we're not making money. I got news for you, kids. Your ability to go on ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, CNN, whatever the fuck network, is due to them making money so they can have a building and a TV set and cameras so they can broadcast. They have to make money. Why do you think ratings is so important? It allows advertisers to sell their product for 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever. But if you're not putting on TV that can sell spots for those ads, that those advertising agencies with their company behind them forking over cash would want to advertise with or on. That's why Jimmy Kimmel gets kicked off the air. Now, the FCC bullshit, they've said shit on TV, okay? There was a huge thing a decade or so ago about, oh my God, they said shit. Or whatever fucking bad word it was. It generated shock value. Big fucking deal. Public radio, don't care for it. Love the classical. The news, I just switch channels. I don't have to listen to it. You know. Corporate news, corporate media, don't care much for it either because Jesus fucking Christ, the commercials are endless. Oh, man. And they're so stupid sometimes. It's like, Jesus, boys, girls, whatever, whichever. I don't give a fuck. Just come up with something decent. Hey, I've got the product of the century right here. And it's only because the century is about 25 years long. Buy it now. Simple, effective. Look, here's a plain thing. This is what it does. Hallelujah. Not, oh, don't you mind me blowing smoke up your arse in the most creative manners imaginable? Don't you want it? Don't you need it? But yeah, Jimmy Kimmel getting shit canned, whatever, you know. But all of these leftists are getting shit canned. Yeah. Turnabout's fair play. You want to play cancel culture. If you want to play the game, you got to know the fucking rules. You know, if you're going to introduce the rules and then pretend to be victims the moment the shit gets reversed, go fuck yourself. Learn from your mistakes. Stop being emotional. Get some logic about you. And realize that sometimes the best way to get the changes you're wanting, maybe affect people in their thinking, is by being helpful, not hurtful, helpful. And don't kill people when they're trying to be helpful. That's not a good look. Don't celebrate when people are being helpful and they're murdered. Doesn't matter which side of the aisle they should be on. It's just good advice. Don't say things you don't need to say. Because yes, the whole, well, free speech protects your ability to say what you want, but not from the consequences of it. And it's like, what kind of consequences are we talking? A social media lynching? You know, hey, everybody get together and go after this person. Yeah, that's a great idea. It should work out well, right? Always does. Always does, doesn't it? Oh, fucking demons. Oh. Yeah, we'll show up at your house with a crew of people and we'll scream, yell, and play loud noises. It'll work out well. We'll really get our point across. We'll sit in busy traffic ways because we don't want you using oil. Meanwhile, you're using up a tank of gas waiting for us to get the fuck out of the way. I wish people thought shit through. Sometimes it really amazes me. But yeah, as far as it goes, what is it? Yes, I think he should still be alive. I think he is far more helpful than hurtful. He is far better than a hurtful person. I think the only thing he's guilty of is the abuser's statement, "Look at what you made me do." He didn't make you do anything. You did it. Lefties, police your own. The more crazy and emotionally unstable, some of you probably should be medded up. Psychology, that bit. But it's, if you want to kill people, please don't. If they disagree with you, please don't. If you've got that much of a bloodlust in you that it's all consuming and fucks with your logic and creates emotional situations, the pop, 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 pop. Yeah, no, please don't do that. Please have a second thought before you do something that heinous and that horrible. To the people celebrating his murder, his assassination, please shut the fuck up. Have some brains about you. Let's put it this way, okay? What if Bernie Sanders was in Kirk's position? What if Bernie Sanders had his head blown off because he was saying shit that some right-wing lunatic decided to take offense to? And everybody on the right wing celebrated that death. Would you be sitting there happy that it happened, respecting their right to free speech, saying heinous ass shit like that? Or would you go to cancel them immediately, without hesitation? You goddamn right. You know what you do. So don't play that holier than thou, high morality pedestal bullshit. You're just as human as everybody else. You've got the same foibles. You got the same capability of being a murderous cunt. Okay? Realize it. Get control of it. So you don't create or help to create a civil war due to everybody else's willingness to be a cunt. Because you don't have to be, do you? You can be a good, helpful, upstanding human. But then if you are, you get character assassination by the social media mobs. So, it's fun when everybody eats each other, doesn't it? Get some control. Get some reflectiveness. Look in the fucking mirror and say, I don't need to be an evil cunt. It's not necessary. It's unnecessary. Please do that immediately so we can, again, try making this world a better place to live in and exist in, so we're not all shitting on each other like it's auntie's fruitcake. Whatever, fruitcake, horrible. Why the fuck would I want to eat it? Anyway, I've tried it. It sucks ass. Anyway, so to the leftists in the room that made it this far, I say to you, please stop being cunts. Get control of your emotions. Stop opening your mouths and have verbal diarrhea come out, because just because you can say something doesn't mean you should. I'm going to put this out and everybody should love it. No, they don't. They don't have to love it. They don't even have to listen to it. They don't even have to react to it. They can just be like, stupid people. Next. But not everybody won't react to it. And you know that. Again, poking bears. Not smart. Being mouthy and cunty. Not smart. Shitting on other people's parades. Not smart. Leave people alone. Don't murder people you don't agree with. Please. Please. And for those that made it this far that instantly just said, well, what about the violence on the right? Yes, they don't need to be evil cunts either. God. Everybody can be an evil cunt. I'm telling you not to be one. Wouldn't that be nice and fun to not be a cunt? Don't kill people because you don't agree with them. And if you want to, knock it off. God damn. Be helpful, not hurtful. Stop killing each other for some bullshit. That's all I got. 3, 2, 1, out.